Good evening and thank you for joining us. There's now a major reward being offered in the case of a woman who disappeared back in March. 26-year-old Alyssa Turnbull from Gillies Township went missing while she was living in the Nipigon area. The OPP conducted numerous searches but remained tight-lipped while rumors swirled about the case. Today, a $50,000 reward was announced for anyone who can help solve the disappearance. Michael Mohorovic has the details.
The Ontario government is offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the disappearance of Alyssa Turnbull.
A new plea and a new reward from the OPP to help figure out what happened to 26-year-old Alyssa Turnbull. She was last seen in Nipigon on March 25th and officially reported missing on April 14th. The $50,000 reward issued Friday is part of a new strategy the OPP is using to bring an answer to the mystery of her disappearance.
Specific investigations require different approaches. So offering a reward is an investigative technique that has been proven effective over time. And basically it's an alternate way to motivate people to come forward with information that normally wouldn't do so. So sometimes it's the smallest piece of information that has the biggest impact. Our intention in this case to release information is to basically bring those people forward and exhaust all leads to hopefully get a resolution in this case.
On April 20th, 6 days after Turnbull was reported missing, there was a large police presence in Nipigon. For that week in April, the police presence remained as police searched neighborhood homes, the marina, and wooded areas. Since that day, the OPP has released almost no information or details about her disappearance.
Well, I think like most investigations in small communities, as you can appreciate, the rumors are rampant. And when you're conducting an investigation, especially of this magnitude, you don't want to be releasing any sort of information that could taint it or affect the result or the end result of the investigation. So I think it's not so much tight-lipped, well, it would be tight-lipped, but we have to protect the integrity of the investigation.
We asked Golding about any leads or suspects they may have and whether they believe Turnbull is still alive or not.
At this time, we can't discuss suspects. Once again, we have to protect the integrity of the investigation, so we're not in a position right now to discuss suspects or if there are any suspects. What I can say at this time is that the OPP and the family are hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst.
Turnbull is described as 5'3", weighing 100 pounds, with blue eyes and shoulder-length blonde hair that she may have dyed red or purple. The OPP encourages anybody with information to contact them or Crime Stoppers. Michael Mohorovic, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay District Health Unit has reported 2 new COVID-19 cases today. They're both related to travel, and both of those who've been infected are now self-isolating. There have now been 117 cases in the district since the pandemic began. 4 are still considered active. Meanwhile, there are 896 new infections across the province today, and questions are being raised regarding the new modeling released on Thursday. Some business owners who've been forced to close their doors in Ontario hotspots are demanding to know why. Colin DeMello explains.
Premier Doug Ford and the province's public health officials are facing backlash today after new modeling data painted a troubling picture. Bars, restaurants, and gyms have not been a significant source of outbreaks, despite being the targets of a modified Stage 2.
That was one of the things that was more startling to me, is that the number was not as high as I thought it would actually be. And I expected it to be much higher, given that we did target gyms.
The revelation led to anger within the Premier's own caucus. His MPPs had been asking for this data for weeks, and sources say they only saw it yesterday for the very first time. And some are questioning whether the Premier had this information at his fingertips when he closed gyms and restricted restaurants. The Premier said the decision he made at the time was the correct one.
We saw a spike at 200% in ICU beds, and I truly believe if we didn't make this decision, we would be having a different conversation today.
But health officials are acknowledging the situation is beginning to shift.
The numbers are still going up, but they're going up slower. So what it's saying to us is we can look at perhaps modifying the conditions.
And the Premier is now directing his public health officials to begin unlocking the hard-hit sectors.
I have asked our public health experts to come back next week with a plan to begin to ease restrictions. in a way that is safely allows businesses to start opening back up after the 28-day period is over.
And when that happens, Ontario will begin a new chapter, an open economy with growing case rates.
When we hit the actual plateau, we're going to stay there for quite some time. So we need to get used to seeing 1,000 cases per day. That's what we're going to be seeing for quite some time.
A new COVID-19 normal for the foreseeable future.
Meanwhile, here in our community, the numbers keep going in the right direction when it comes to the estimated financial impact of COVID-19 on Thunder Bay's budget. City staff are now projecting a $6.3 million hit from the pandemic between tax and rate-supported operations, and all of that deficit will be covered by money provided by senior levels of government. Back in July, city staff had anticipated a $7 million COVID deficit, but the latest projections show just under a $5 million end-of-year tax shortfall and rate-supported operations that are nearly $1.3 million in the red. Thunder Bay received $9.4 million this summer from Ottawa and the province to cover the COVID-19 budget shortfall. If these latest 2020 projections hold through the end of the year, the city will put $2.8 million of that government money into reserves to help offset next year's pandemic expenses. Administration projected an $8.4 million hit in 2021 during its July update to Council. The shortage of doctors in northwestern Ontario has been a long-standing problem, and local officials are still struggling to recruit new physicians. Nearly 1 in 5 residents in the Thunder Bay area doesn't have a family doctor, and the shortage could get worse over the next few years. Kayla Karim reports.
The Northern Ontario School of Medicine, opened in 2002, was developed to train family physicians in hopes that they will practice within the region. But this region continues to struggle with a chronic doctor shortage, especially in Kenora, Sioux Lookout, and Geraldton. As for the situation in Thunder Bay, the CEDC recently provided a recruitment update to City Council, showing the numbers were way down in 2019, with just 1 family doctor and 9 specialists recruited that year. Community Health Sciences recruiter Lexi Penko says Thunder Bay is short 20-plus family doctors, along with many other healthcare vacancies. And in the next decade, at least 10 doctors will be retiring, leaving many patients without a family physician.
That presents a couple of challenges because, one, newer doctors are not rostering as many patients as some of the more established doctors used to roster. And so whereas a retiring doctor may have had 2,000 or 3,000 patients rostered to them, a lot of newer doctors are only taking on maybe 1,000 patients. Based on my observation, I feel like there aren't many newer doctors who take on more than 1,200 or 1,500 patients.
Smaller patient rosters are beneficial in some ways, such as shorter wait times and allowing the doctors to spend more time with their patients. But with fewer patients, the demand for doctors still remains. Penko says for a while, one of the main issues that they've been having with recruitment is the location.
I would say that the biggest part of my job is networking and getting to know a lot of the NOSM learners and doing everything I can to promote the opportunity that we have here for them and try to keep them in our community. We even have programs that leverage peer-to-peer recruitment. It's a program that incentivizes practicing physicians to tap into their own networks and try to promote practice opportunities here.
Penko says marketing campaigns along with financial incentives for candidates and local physicians who can help recruit are in place in hopes for a more positive trend in the future. Kayla Karim, TBT News.
The fight to bring back a basic income pilot program has been resurrected, this time by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, calling on Ottawa to implement the program. Protests were held in 2018 when the Ontario government scrapped its basic income pilot just a year into its tenure. Chambers of Commerce in Thunder Bay and Hamilton advocated for the call that's now being taken up by the national body. Thunder Bay Chamber President Charlotte Robinson says there are many paths for low-income individuals and the system can be confusing at times.
Pilot is a great way to test it out without, sort of blowing up the whole system and then finding out that whatever you thought might work didn't really work the way you thought it would. A pilot would allow the federal government to really test out how a basic income could work and figure out what those mechanisms are and how it may have positive areas and it may have some negative areas, and then tweak it accordingly.
Robinson says they know the federal government is already looking at changes to the system after the CERB highlighted both negatives and positives of Canada's economy. Superior Shores Gaming Centre has provided the latest financial boost to the underground gym and its mission to purchase a new building for the kids that depend on the charity. General Manager Joe Brizard made the $5,000 donation after seeing Peter Panetta's call for help to purchase the new space to replace the previous gym on Simpson Street that was condemned last year. Brizard hopes the money from the gaming center will help the charity reach its goal, and he's encouraging others to follow his lead.
Yeah, I'd like to challenge the rest of the businesses and even individuals to step forward and help. I think it's a great cause.
It's surreal, definitely surreal. The community has come together for this, and you can see where their priorities are, which is awesome because it's all about the kids, and we'll just get back on track and have a place for the kids, a safe place for the kids to come again.
The underground gym has now raised $81,000 toward the purchase of the $90,000 building. Panetta says the charity can also use donated gym equipment, craft supplies, and instruments as well. Remembrance Day services will be vastly different this year because of COVID-19 gathering limits. That means the usual ceremonies in retirement homes won't be happening. But thanks to an initiative from the Port Arthur Legion, a video is being produced to share with those seniors. Corey Nordstrom has more.
A full Remembrance Day ceremony was held this week as a way to virtually bring the annual service to retirement homes across the city. Crews from Shaw Cable recorded the ceremony done by members of the Branch 5 Legion and will turn the service's prayers, readings of In Flanders Field, and the last post into DVDs for each home. Color Party Commander Kim Treichler explains that the virtual service wasn't their first option.
We were looking at doing the retirement homes again, but because of COVID, it was going to be really hard. You know, one place you needed a COVID test, another place you didn't, another place you needed something else. You know, so we just decided it would be far better to have it recorded for us.
Treichler says in a regular year, members of Branch 5 would visit 10 seniors' homes where many veterans currently reside.
We go to these retirement homes and generally we do just a little bit of a smaller version of a Remembrance Day ceremony, and they so much appreciate it. Not everybody can get out. Not everybody's mobile. Not everybody's well enough to go.
I think it's wonderful the fact that the Legion was able to put this together. Otherwise, many of the people that will see this in the seniors' homes would never have had an opportunity.
The DVDs will be distributed to the retirement homes in time for the 11th, and Shaw Cable will also air the video. Meanwhile, a scaled-down November 11th ceremony by a small number of Branch 5 members at the Waverly Park Cenotaph will be live-streamed on the Legion's social media pages. Corey Nordstrom, TBC News.
The Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra is getting into the Halloween spirit. The orchestra took over the old generating station on Mission Island to create a unique and haunting music video. The orchestra produced the video with a steampunk theme in hopes of reaching a larger audience. Due to COVID-19, the orchestra has been performing for much smaller crowds at the Hilldale Lutheran Church and wanted to use the video to spread awareness of its return to the stage. In the video, the group is performing a repurposed version of Charles Gounod's Funeral March of the Marionettes, also known as the theme song for the TV show Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Much talent in the TBSO, sounds great. Well, kids are set to hit the streets tomorrow night for Halloween. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit says it's important for parents to remind their kids that we are still living in a pandemic, and they have some friendly reminders to keep candy givers and getters safe. The health unit recognizes that trick-or-treating is an important activity for the mental and social well-being of children, but extra precautions are needed this year. Anyone with COVID symptoms should not take part. And for those going door to door, they should only go with members of the same household and stay in their own neighborhoods to avoid overcrowding in parts of town. A face mask should be worn underneath a costume mask. And for those giving out treats, wear a face mask when handing out candy and don't leave treats in a bucket or bowl for everyone to grab. Now, as for Halloween parties, indoor gatherings are limited to 10 people. And the health unit recommends staying outside if possible. More information is available on the district health unit's website.
Day before Halloween, none of us got the memo to wear black and orange today. Embarrassing. Although Fiona has the leopard print on, I'm going to say she's Shania Twain this year. I don't know. I'm just going with that. Fiona, do or don't today's conditions impress you much?
Well, they impress me much. Yes, it was actually an improvement over yesterday. Yesterday we had a high around the freezing mark. Today we topped out at 4, still not quite where we want to be. That's with a low of -12 and a wind chill of -16 last night, but loads of sunshine. Now, if we head westward into Fort Frances, they too had a fair amount of sun. They also got on the plus side. Unfortunately, a lot of areas of the region are still hovering close to the freezing mark, if not below, as is the case in Kenora and Dryden. Red Lake at 1, Sioux Lookout -1. They've got a lot of clouds to the north as the system starts to push through. Armstrong also at -2, Greenstone -1, Greenstone -2 under mostly cloudy skies. Marathon -1, and Sault Ste. Marie on the plus side, but there's a whole lot of cloud going with it. Tonight, going to be much milder than last night. A low of -2, wind chill of -8, with temperatures actually starting to rise in the early morning hours. That's with winds from the south-southwest, 13 to 24 kilometers per hour. As we head into the weekend and next week, the next couple of days, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. However, moving into next week, if this week was not your cup of tea, if you were not impressed with the kinds of temperatures we saw, we have some warm air pushing in from the south next week, and there's a very good chance we are going to be getting back into double-digit highs on the plus side. I'll have more details on that later on in the news hour.
I was giving a silent round of applause when you said that, Fiona. I appreciate it. Well, we got some warnings from Canada's top doctor today. Canadians should be further limiting their social interactions in order to get through the second wave. We'll have more details as your Friday News Hour continues.
For individuals, I think on a practical basis is to keep to your family or household as much as possible.